Sorry, there was a small delay in joining with you all today. So today the class will go from 1:15 to 3:15, hoping to cover the left off time as well. So let's start off from where we finished last class. Last class, we were looking at bond terminology and valuation, if you can recall. So we were looking at certain important terms that are used when it comes to bond valuation or when communicating in terms of dealing with bonds. So we saw principal amount, issue date, maturity date, what a coupon rate is, how that coupon rate is calculated. Remember, the coupon rate is an annual rate. That is annual coupon is what is denoted as a coupon rate. Okay, so if the question says that coupon payment happens biannually and they give you a coupon rate of 8%, you need to know it comes in two tranches. So 8% have to be divided into two for you to know the every 6-month coupon. Okay. Then we saw coupon rate can be communicated or can be denominated in two ways. It can be a fixed rate, as the example I told you, like 8%, or it can be a floating rate where they will say AWPLR plus a certain margin. We saw that even with the debenture. Remember, I showed the SoftLogic Capital's prospectus and I showed you. Usually there are two, the debenture carries both these. So there is a debenture with a fixed rate and a debenture with a floating rate. But majority or the most common type you see is a fixed rate. Why? Bonds are usually a fixed income security. You want that stability. You need to have that certainty of your income inflow. Okay, so that's why for that certainty, to provide that certainty, most of the bonds or the debentures issued carry a fixed rate. Floating rates are also becoming popular in the market, but when you take the classification, it takes a much lesser weightage. But remember, floating rate note helps the investor from what risk? From interest rate risk. Why? Because if the market interest rates are increasing, your coupon will also move in the similar way. Now, if you take this example, for a floating rate coupon, we have taken 6 months LIBOR and added a margin of +2. So, if the market interest rates or if the borrowing in US dollars is increasing, which causes the LIBOR to increase, you as an investor are not going to lose because now your return is also going to increase. If 6-month LIBOR is moving, even your income is going to move. Okay, so that protection is available for the investors. Note, you need to keep that in mind. That's a protection available for a floating rate note when compared to a fixed rate bond. Okay. Then we saw current yield. How current yield is different from coupon rate. Both, yes, they do consider the annual coupon payment, but when we talk about yield, we talk about a return. So when I stress this always, whenever we use the word yield, we compare our return to our investment. Okay, so we compare the annual coupon payment, which is a return to the investor, which is the income to the investor. You divide that by what have you invested in this bond. What is your invested amount? So ideally, that will be the price at which you bought this bond. Okay, that is what we call as yield. Your income, you match it with your return and see what kind of a return have you got. A return is essentially the yield that we are talking. Now, when you term it as current yield, you want to know what is the ongoing yield percentage that you will get if you invest today. So you need to match your 1 year income, your 1 year probable income from that bond. Therefore, you will take your annual coupon payment and match it to the current market price. If I buy this bond today, what is the return that I'm going to get? So if I hold it for an average of 1 year, for a minimum period of 1 year, in today's price terms, I will get this much of a yield rate. That is what is denoted by the current yield. Okay. How the formulas are different, keep that in mind as well. Coupon rate and current yield, the numerator is the same. But your denominator is the one that will be different. Here you have current market price. In coupon rate, we use par value of the bond. Why do we use par value of the bond? If I am the issuer, I am the company who's issuing the bond, I would want to give a return based on the intrinsic, based on the par value of that bond. I don't want to give a return based on the price. The value that I assign for the bond is the basis that I will use. Essentially, that is the face value of the bond. Okay. So based on that is how the coupon is paid. So remember, denominator is different. So then we did a calculation as well. How when the market price changes, the current yield changes, When the market price reduces, we can see current yield is increasing. Even without doing this calculation, you should be knowing that. Why? If the price is going down and the return is constant, at a lower price, you are able to get the same return. So your current yield will increase. But the changes in the coupon market price does not affect your coupon rate. Here, if it's possible, just put a high note or a asterisk here and write, change in the bond's market price doesn't impact on the coupon rate. Okay. Then we saw the coupon frequency. How often is this coupon paid out? Then accrued interest. It's also one of the most frequently tested questions I have seen in the past few papers, where they actually ask you to calculate this. So remember the formula. Before the formula, understand the rationale behind it. I told you from day one, from the day of issuance. Now, if you go to the issue date, you can see issue date is the date on which the bond begins to accrue interest. So it's like the date from which the bond becomes active. Okay. So from the date in which you issued it, with the zero date, let's say now. So from this date onwards, the interest will start to get accrued. It will build up until the payment date. So if the coupon frequency is biannually, this will be, let's say, if now is January, end of June or beginning of July, your payment becomes due. So interest gets accrued on this date, the payment will be made, and then the accrued interest becomes nil because it got accrued and you paid it off. Then it becomes nil. Then from the very next day, again, it will start accruing because there's another payment in December. Okay. So again, it will accrue, and in December, the payment will become due. Okay. That is how accrued interest works. It is the interest accumulated since the principal investment or the bond's last interest payment date or bond's last coupon payment date. So here you can see from the bond issuance or from the last coupon payment date. Now, why this accrued interest is important, I've told you last class as well. This happens when you trade in between two coupon dates. Now, let's say coupon payment happens every 6 months. So that will be end of June and end of December. Okay. But I have invested in this bond. I hold it until June. Yes. Then mid of August, I sell it. I sell it to one of you. Now, until now, June interest I have got, or the June coupon I have received. Okay. But from July until the mid of August, there is some kind of interest accrued. That interest belongs to me. Why? I was the one holding the bond at that time. I was facing the, all the bond related risks were faced by me. So the return should come to me. But now because I've sold it to you, you at the end of December will get the entire 6 months coupon, which is unfair. You didn't hold for that entire 6 months, correct? So the new buyer has to pay the seller the accrued interest when he purchases the bond. Okay, so who makes the payment? The buyer should make the payment. Why? Because the buyer receives all the interest. Because of that, the buyer, whatever the interest accrued until the trading date, has to make that accrued interest to the seller. Okay. Then we saw yield to maturity. Again, yield is the return. Here, what are we assessing? We are assessing the return the investor gets by holding this bond, not for 1 year. We are now looking at until maturity. If you purchase it today and hold on until the maturity date, what is your yield to maturity? So this will consider all the cash inflows and outflows related to the bond. And always remember, the return, the yield is inversely related to its price. It's very, very clear why. Price is essentially your investment. If you're going to invest less for the same return, your yield percentage will increase. If you're going to invest more for the same return, your yield will decrease. Okay, this is very, very important. Not only for your banking knowledge, if you're planning to do anything related to finance, understand this basic norm when it comes to bond valuation. Then we saw covenants. There are two types, the positive and the negative. Positive is more encouraging. The issuer will say, look here, I will do this for you, do this for you. All other promises that I will do this for you. Negatives are, oh my God, I won't do this for you. It's all the negative. I'm not going to do, I won't do this. So on the not side, if there is a restriction coming in, it's a negative. Positive or affirmative are the can do covenants. Okay. Then we move to bond valuation. We saw that entire bond valuation depends on this time value of money concept. Why? Because the cash flow of a bond comes in the future. One component might come end of 1 year, second year, third year, fourth year, and then at the end of 5 years, the amount that you invested today in terms of the face value, you will get only at the end of 5 years. So if you invested 1,000 rupees today and you're going to get that same 1,000 at the end of 5 years, is the value of both these 1,000 rupee the same? 1,000 rupee worth today and 1,000 rupee worth in 5 years time. Is it the same? No. Obviously, the future value of the money is lower. Why? Inflation will increase. The risk levels are high. Therefore, the money that you get in the future, the real value is lesser. That concept is brought out by the time value of money. So that is what is the basis when it comes to bond valuation. Now, we had a 4-step approach to value the bonds. First, we calculate the coupon or the interest payment. Then we calculate the present value of these coupons for each period. Sorry. Each period, we calculate the present value of the coupon. Then, is coupon the only inflow from a bond? No. At the end of 5 years, you will get your principal back or the face value back. So, you have to calculate the present value of the face value. Do you have to calculate your face value? No. It's usually given. So, directly you will move to calculating the present value. And then as the final step, the answer of step 3 and answer of step 2 are added together for you to get the bond value. Okay. So then we did a question as well. I hope you attempted it. Just for you to refresh your memory, let's go through another. This is the question. If a treasury bond with a face value of 100, a semi-annual coupon rate of 8.5 and remaining maturity exactly 1.5 years is trading at a yield to maturity of 8%. Calculate the price of the bond. Now, whenever they say calculate the price of the bond, what they essentially mean is the value of the bond. Okay, value this bond based on this scenario provided. What is our approach whenever we get these questions? I've told you, first, filter out the information. Okay, if you are very experienced in directly tackling a question, you can go ahead, do the question. But if you want some thinking time, best is first filter out the information. Okay. So you have face value 100. You will mention that here. Semi-annual coupon rate of 8.5. Now, does that mean every 6 months you're going to get 8.5? No. Remember, the coupon rate given is always the annual rate. So 8.5 is annual rate. But it is paid semi-annually. So what is the coupon frequency? 2. Or how many coupon period in a year? 2 periods. Okay, because it's semi-annual. I hope I'm clear to you. Okay. And then you have remaining maturity exactly 1.5. So you have how many years left? 1.5. Okay. What is the yield to maturity? 8%. Excellent. Now, how many coupon periods do you have considering the residual or the remaining maturity? You have 1.5 years. So in that 1.5 years, how many times will you get your coupon? 1.5 into every year twice. So 1.5 into 2, you will get 3 as your answer, which means during that 1.5 period, 3 times you're going to get your coupon. Am I correct? Let's say from January onwards, you're saying end of June, first coupon payment. End of December, another coupon payment. And then next year, end of June, you will get your face value and you will get your last coupon. So you have 3 coupon payments coming in. So you need the residual or the remaining time to maturity, and you need your coupon paying frequency for you to calculate this number of time periods. If you can see, I've multiplied these two. Okay. This is essential. Why? Because if you know this only, it's easier for you to decide on your discount factors. Okay. Now, because it's 3 times, I am classifying my time periods as 1, 2, 3. Why? There are 3 situations I'm going to get the cash flows. All right. Now, first, what is our step? Calculate the coupon or the interest payment. That is what we are going to do first. Par value, which is 1000. Into coupon rate. How much is the coupon rate? 8.5. How much will be the annual coupon then? 8.5 rupees. That will be the annual coupon. But this is for one time period. So for one coupon period, you're not going to get 8.5. You're only going to get half of it. In a year, you will get 8.5, but in the first 6 months or every 6 months, you're only going to get half of it. That's why we are multiplying it by 1 divided by the coupon frequency. In this question, what is the coupon frequency? 2. So essentially 8.5 divided by 2 will get you a coupon payment of 4.25. Let's see, this divided by 2, 4.25. So for every 6 months, you will get 4 rupees and 25 cents. All right. So now you have calculated your coupon receipt. Next, present value of the coupon payments. For you to know the present value, remember there is always a discount factor that you need to calculate. This one. Okay. How are you going to do that? Now, we are in the first time period, second, third. In this question, only 3 time periods. Therefore, only until this point you will need it, essentially. Okay. So, 1 plus R. What is R? The required rate of return, which means yield to maturity. Okay. Yield to maturity of 8%. So 1 plus 8%. Remember, don't just write 8. Why am I stressing on all this is during the exam pressure, so many students forget that there is a percentage sign behind that. They just go and write 8 itself. It's 8% that you need to write. Either you can write 8% or 0.08. Okay. Now, can you just write 0.08 here? 0.08 is the yield to maturity which is given for an annual basis. Now, here See, YTM captures the return that the holder will get if he holds this bond until maturity. Yes. But when you are denoting it as a percentage, you show it as a annual rate. It's a long-term bond yield, right? But you express it like an annual rate. Always interest rates are in annual terms. No, it's per annum terms that you show it. So this 8% is a annually, if you hold this bond until maturity, annually the rate is 8%. Your yield rate is 8%. Now here, the time periods are scattered. 6 months time periods. So can you take an annual rate and use here? No. So you have to adjust this 1 plus R. You have to adjust this 1 plus R divided by the coupon frequency here. Why? Because 8 denotes for an entire year. In this question, every time period denotes only 6 months. Okay. So 1 plus, I hope you could see this. No, I'm unable to show it you clearly. So what happens is 1 plus 8%, but I divide that 8 by 2. Because 8 is an annual term, I need to find for every 6 months. So it will be 8 divided by 2, essentially 4%. It's like 1 plus 4%. Okay. I power it by the time weightage. If this is the first time period, it's the powered by 1. If it's the second time period, I will power it by 2. And it will continue depending on the question. Now here, there are only 3 time periods. I have to adjust it for the time also, remember? So 1 plus 8 divided by 2, the entire thing, the entire formula, I have to power it by the time period, which is 1. Here also 1 plus 8 divided by 2, but what is the time here? It's the second time period. So the power is 2. Third one, power is, it's the third time period. So power is 3. Like this, you will get your discount factor recognized. Okay. What do you do then? Simply coupon divided by the relevant discount factor will get you the present value of the coupon. Present value of the coupon is taken by the cash flow divided by the discount factor. So simply coupon divided by the discount factor. Now when you add all this, you will get 11.79, which means in terms of coupon payments, in today's value, this bond will get you 11.79 as your coupon payment across the remaining maturity. Step 3, present value of the face value. Do we need to calculate the face value? No, it's already given. So just merely mark it to the correct time period. When are we going to get the 100? At the end or the on maturity date. So it's in the last time period that I will get the 100. Okay. Now when I'm going to discount this, sorry, when I'm going to discount this, I don't need to use these 2 discounts. Directly, I need to know the third year's discount factor. Because you have already calculated in step 2, simply substituting it here is enough. It's the same approach. And then face value divided by this discount factor will get you your present value of this face value, which means the 100 that you're going to get in 1.5 years is actually worth only 88 rupees in today's terms. Okay, that is what is denoted here. So third step is also correct. Final step, step 4, you add all this. Sorry. Coupon payment present value and the face value present value, both of these added together, you should be getting your price of the bond or the value of this bond at 100.69. Okay, this is how the elaborate step-by-step approach would tell you. Now, once you become very conversant in these calculations, once you become very comfortable with these approaches, remember, you can shorten this approach according to your wish. Let's remove these out for now. How can you shorten it? Without individually discounting, you can first recognize all your cash flows. You can recognize your coupon cash flow. You can recognize your principal repayment cash flow and just get the total cash flow for each period. So this will tell you, you have 1.5 years left for maturity. Correct. Let's say I'm in January. At the end of June, you will get 4.25 rupees. In December, you will get 4.25 rupees. Next June, yes, you will get 4.25 rupees, but you will also get your face value or your principal repayment of 100 rupees. So totally next year, June, you will get 104 rupees and 25 cents. Okay. Now using all these, you can simply use your discount factor just once and arrive at the present value of the total cash flows. Sum it up and you will get the same bond value. Okay. These are certain short techniques that you can use at the exam. Then last class we also saw this. Why do we need to know the value of a bond? Because we can compare the real value of a bond with the ongoing market price of the bond and see whether that bond is undervalued, overvalued, or whether it's correctly priced before we make any trading decision. Before we make any decision to buy or to sell, doing this calculation will tell you whether you're holding an overvalued bond or whether you're holding an undervalued bond, whether you're going to sell an undervalued bond or overvalued bond. Okay, you need to understand that for you to make that informed decision. Now we are going to look at what are these factors affecting this bond price. Now we know bond price is determined by the market, fine. But the market must be reacting to certain features of this bond, and that is why the bond prices are changing. Okay, so we are going to look at what are the factors influencing these bond prices. Now, if you saw this question, if we did this last class, these were the situation at that time. Now we can see this bond has certain features. It has a 5% coupon. Okay. it has a maturity period of 5 years. Okay. And the investor expects a yield rate of 6%. This face value remains common, so you could omit it. Okay. So we can see 3 important features. Now we are going to see how these 3 features are impacting on this final price. When one variable changes, so when 5 years to maturity changes, what happens? This number is going to change. When 5 years maturity is changing, this digit will change. Because why? This power depends on the time period. Correct? So here you have for 5 years, so you have 5 time periods. Okay? If you take 5% annual coupon, how is this impacting the bond valuation? This will impact the numerator. Okay? And this 6%. This will impact here. Now, can you understand how each of these are impacted? Now, this 1000 rupee is a common feature among the face value, remains the constant among the bonds. So, you could ignore that. Okay. Okay, so that question is how I have represented here. These are the time periods. Okay. Now here, depending on these features, we arrived at a bond price of 957.88. Correct? Now let's imagine the same bond, but this same bond now has, or let's say there's another bond with very much similar features, but is giving a higher coupon. All other features are same, but it's giving me, it's giving the investor a higher coupon. Now that this is one bond, this is another bond. The only changing factor is the coupon rate. One is giving 5%, one is giving 6%. What has happened to the price? We can see that price has increased. What can you say about it? What is coupon? It is some sort of a return to the investor, return to the holder of the bond. If the holder is getting a higher return, will you as a holder be willing to buy that bond? Of course, it's giving me a higher coupon rate of 7% than just 5%. So, demand will increase, causing the value of the bond to increase. You can see that happening here. Let's say the coupon bond value has decreased, has come to 4. There is another bond which gives 5%. The bond which gives a higher coupon rate will have a higher price, whereas the bond with a lower coupon rate will have a lower price. That is visible here. Next scenario again. Again, now you have two bonds identical. Then the price remains the same, correct? But now in one bond, now there are two investors. These are two bonds. One I am holding, another one you are holding. Okay. I am satisfied with a 6% return. I expect a 6% return. That's my minimum required rate. Okay. You as an investor expect a much higher yield. You say, look here, just 6% is not enough. I need at least 10%. Can you see when the yield rate changes to 10%, price of that bond declines. We remember the inverse relationship. Yield increases when price declines. So if there is an investor who expects a higher yield, he will have to buy the bond at a lower price. Okay, if the target pool expects a higher yield, then the market price declines to match that. Okay, that we can see here. Finally, the years. Now again, both these bonds have very, very similar features. Okay, but let's see the other bond. The time remaining to maturity increases to 10 years. Initially, both were issued at 5 years maturity, but one of the bonds have now changed their maturity date to 10 years. Can you see what has happened to the price of the bond? Price has declined. Earlier it was 957.88, now 926. Why has it declined? Because maturity has increased. Now you are going to get the same return, but you are going to get a longer time to get it. Okay. Now during this long time, what's going to happen? There's a lot of uncertainties which you will have to face. Therefore, the price will adjust to highlight that. That's why a bond with a longer maturity period will be valued lower. Coupon rate. Higher coupon rate will increase the value of the bond that we saw here. So ideally, coupon rate creates a positive effect on the price. When coupon increases, price will also increase. Required rate of return. Higher the yield or higher the required return, lower the value of the bond. Why? If I'm expecting a higher return, I would want to invest less. Remember? Therefore, market price has to decline. So, higher the yield, lower the price of the bond. Time to maturity. Again, we saw this. Longer the term for maturity, lower the value of the bond. Why? There's so much of uncertainty, and the significant part of your bond is now going to come at a later date. Earlier, we saw this 1,000 was coming at the end of 5 years. Now, this 1,000 is coming at the end of 10 years. Which means the value has come down drastically. You can see, ideally the 1,000 rupee worth today at the end of 5 years will be worth, as per this calculation, closer to 560. But if he has got it at the end of 5 years, that 1,000 would be equal to 750 at the end of 5 years. Now it has further lost its value. Okay. So here you can see there is a positive relationship. Higher coupon, higher value. Required rate of return has a negative relationship. Higher yield, lower value of the bond. Time to maturity is, again, you could say inverse. Longer the term to maturity. Now here, when you're talking about maturity, it's very, very important about how they are wording it. If they say remaining time to maturity increases, when the remaining time to maturity increases, the value of the bond declines. That's a negative period. Okay, we have to see time to maturity there. Okay, if the time left or the balance time available is becoming longer and extended, then value of the bond will decline. But if it becomes shorter, let's say a 2-year bond has been made to mature at the end of 6 months now, then that means the value of the bond will increase drastically. Okay. There is another set of learning that you need to know when it comes to bond. We saw overvalued, undervalued, and correctly priced bonds. This is another classification of bonds we have as premium, par, and discount. What do you mean by premium, par, and discount? Now, certain bonds, I think I explained this to you last class as well. We see that these bonds are getting traded at a value higher than their face value also. Okay, we know the face value, let's assume it as 1,000. But when they are trading in the market, the value is higher than 1,000. Okay, or sometimes the value is very less than 1,000. Or it is just at the face value that is being traded. Depending on this, we can comment whether the bond is a premium bond. What do you mean by premium bond? The price of the bond is higher than the face value also. Or is it a discount bond? Whether the price of the bond is very less than the par value. Or whether it's a par bond, whether the price equals the face value. Now, remember that the bond issuing timeline of it. Let's say this is period 0. Now we know the par value or the face value. Usually face value of a bond is 1,000. Okay. For a perfectly correctly priced bond, you will buy this bond at 1,000 rupees and you will earn it. It will mature also at 1,000. You will earn it again on maturity. Okay. Now, this is given on maturity. It's the face value that you are going to get. This will never change. Okay. There can be one situation where you bought it at 1,000 itself. So you bought it at 1,000. At the end of 5 years, it will mature at 1,000. But remember, time value of money, when you consider it, this value is low. Okay. There can be a bond where you know the face value of the bond is 1,000, but you are willing to buy this bond at even 2,000 rupees. Okay. You know at the end of 5 years, you're only going to get 1,000 rupees. But now you're willing to pay 2,000 to get hold of this bond. which will indicate that the bond is very, very attractive. Okay, because it's attractive, only you are willing to pay so much high and get this bond. Then you have another class, 1000 rupee bond, but you are willing to pay only 100, or let's say 500, which means at the end of 5 years you're going to get 1000, but today you're willing to only buy it at 500. Okay, now depending on this, you can see this has higher attraction. The investors are highly attracted to this bond. The price is higher than the par value. In the third scenario, price is very less than the par value. If you buy it today at 500 rupees, at the end of 5 years, you will get 1000 back. Actually, you're going to get additional income then. Okay. So here you can see opportunity of earning an additional return. Now we are going to classify what these types of bonds are. Okay. Now this 2000, the market price of the bond is higher than the par value, is essentially a premium bond. Everyone is so interested in buying this bond, they are willing to pay any amount and buy it. This value here, 500 rupees only to buy a bond which will give you 1000 at the end of 5 years. Here, it is called a discount bond. The true worthiness is priced at 1000, or the face value here you can see 1000. But you have to pay only 500 to acquire it. So you get a huge bargain, huge discount. If the market price and the par value or the face value of the bond is the same, you call them the par bond. Now, why do we have this premium and discount? What causes people to pay so much high than the face value? Or what causes people to get such much bargain so much and get such a huge discount? We are going to look at that now. The main difference is caused by these two variables: coupon rate and yield to maturity. Now, before we move to that, what is coupon? It is the, on an annual basis, the interest that you are going to get. What is yield to maturity? It is until the maturity of the bond, all income that you are going to get are considered in yield to maturity. So ideally, when we calculate for yield to maturity, we have considered the coupon payment as well. Am I correct? Okay. Now, yield to maturity also shows your required rate. What is the rate that you expect to get? Okay. Now, let's say I am an investor coming into the market. As per my risk appetite, I expect at least 5% return. When I come to the bond market, I expect at least 5% return on my investment. Okay. Until maturity, I expect at least a 5% return. But I see there is a bond that is being issued which pays a coupon of 8%. Now I'm like, I need 5% annually until maturity of this bond. But this bond is giving me 8% annually. The coupon is so high. The coupon is higher than what I actually prefer, my required rate. So as an investor, won't I be motivated to demand for this bond? I will be running behind to buy this bond. Why? I expect 5, but this bond is giving me 8%. So even though the face value is 1000, I am now willing to pay you more than 1000 and get this bond. Okay, that is why this bond is a premium bond. So how do you recognize a premium bond? The bond price will be 1100, whereas the face value is only 1000, or let's say 1500 bond price, but the face value is still 1000. Those are called premium bond. The price is higher than the face value. Okay. What happens when the coupon rate is lesser than the yield rate? Now, I as an investor come to the bond market expecting at least 5% return. Okay. But what happens? There is a bond which all the bonds, let's say most of the bonds I want to buy, give me only 2%. Let's say 2%. I expect 5%, but just the annual coupon is only 2%. Will I be motivated to buy? No. I expect 5%, but you're only giving me 2%. So I would not demand for such bonds. So will I be willing to pay more than the face value and buy it? No. Will I be motivated to even pay the face value? No. I would say no. If I have to buy such a bond, you have to give me at a bigger discount. You have to give me a bigger discount. Then only I will buy. So whenever the coupon rate is lesser than the yield or lesser than the required rate of return, it becomes a discount bond. The term becomes discount bond. Finally, par bond. These bonds are correctly priced. Therefore, the coupon rate will mirror the yield rate. Therefore, bond price will equal to the par or the face value of the bond. Now, if you take a bond, the return comes as a coupon and the return comes as a capital gain, the amount you invested and the amount you got as a face value. Okay. Now, in this scenario, you can see you're even willing to buy at a higher price than the face value and get a loss. If I pay 1600 for a bond today and at the end of 5 years, I'm only getting 1000, which means my loss is going to be closer to 700, 800. Why? 600 is the loss. I have to consider the time value of money as well. It will be higher. Okay. That is one part of it, one income source. The other income source is the coupon or the interest payment. How this balances out is, if there is a higher coupon, you lose out in terms of the face value and the bond price, because you pay a higher bond price to get the face value. So that will become negative source of income. Whereas coupon rate is so high, it becomes so positive. Ideally, it will match up to your yield rate. Similarly, if you expect a 5% yield, but the coupon is only giving me 2%, what will happen? The issuer say, no, let's bring down the price. So the price will be brought down so low that the holder will get that additional 3% return from the discount. I can buy the bond today at a much cheaper price and sell it at a higher price. On maturity, get 1000 rupees. That's how these two income sources of these two bonds are designed. Why this is important for you is, during multiple choice questions, these are widely used in testing. They ask you, they give you the coupon rate and the yield rate and simply ask you, comment on the price, comment on the whether it's a premium, discount or par. Okay, so you need to know it in and out, the rationale behind it. Here you can see this is a correctly priced bond. 1000 Market price 1000 is the face value. Okay. Why? The coupon 8% matches with, say, not in this question. The coupon of 8% matches with the yield of 8%. Sorry, graph illustrates the relationship between 6% yield and a 6% coupon. Sorry. So 6% yield and 6% coupon, meaning it's a correctly priced bond or a par bond. So the price will essentially equal to the face value. Here what happens? It is, you expect 6% as a yield, but your bond is giving you 8% as the coupon. You're getting additional 2% as your income. So it will refer to a premium bond. When it's a premium bond, you're willing to pay much higher and buy this bond. Okay. Therefore, you could see the price is higher than the other bonds. But if you expect only 6% and you get only 4%, you're disappointed. You're not willing to buy. You expect a larger discount. So here you can see 4% coupon rate for an investor with a 6% yield expectation. That will generate a discount bond which will have this particular path. Now, why this path is important to you? This path will tell you that irrespective of whether it's a premium bond, par bond, or a discount bond, all three move closer to the face value on maturity. Now, par value doesn't actually, par bond won't actually fluctuate, right? It will continue to be the same. But the premium bond will slowly reduce in terms of the market price when the time to maturity, here you can see time to maturity decreases. Now here you have 30 years for it to mature. Here you have 27 more years to mature. Here you have 18 more years to mature. Here you have only 3 months more. 3 years more to mature. Here you have 0 years more to mature, which means today it's maturing. Therefore, if you have a bond which is going to mature tomorrow and give me 1000, will I be paying 1500 today? No. I will pay a maybe 1001 rupee, very smaller, higher percentage. Okay. Remember that all three move closer to the face value of the bond. Now we are moving to an interesting topic. Now we did terminology, we did valuation, and we saw how each variation is impacting. I suggest you go through the note as well. In the note, I have given more elaborate scenarios calculated under each. So attempt this on your own. This will help you to understand what is a premium discount bond, and it will help you in your valuation on your bond pricing questions as well. Okay. Now we are going to this part of bond price sensitivity. Now we know price of the bond is fluctuating. Okay, it fluctuates considering a lot of factors. We saw these factors influencing the bond price. We know that bond price fluctuates based on the yield impact as well. Whenever the market yield increases, price will decrease. Okay, there is a sensitivity there. There's a negative relationship there. If you take sorry, this is the diagram has not been clear. It's like a seesaw that we have taken here just to show you. Okay, so here you can see we know that yield and the price are inversely related. That is known. So when the yield increases, definitely price goes down. But there are certain bonds that when the yield goes up, price decreases. Yes, there is a negative relationship, but the decrease in the price is very, very small, not strong. But then there is another set where the yield increases, but the price decreases by a drastic amount. Now let's assume in both scenarios, yield increased by 2%. In this particular bond, price has declined, yes, but price has declined only by 1%. Okay, but in this other bond, price has declined by 3%. This is what you call sensitiveness. This particular bond, is highly price sensitive, is highly sensitive to a change in yield. A small change in yield will cause a drastic change in this particular bond. But whereas here, even though yield changes and the price also reacts to it, the change in price is not so sensitive. It doesn't have a drastic increase or a drastic decrease. It has a slow change. Okay, now we are going to see why these bonds have different sensitivities. Okay, why is one bond reacting so high? Why is another bond not reacting at all? That is going to be our topic. Now, when you take this bond price sensitivity, why is this bond price sensitivity important? Because this will impact the bond holder. If I hold a bond which is highly sensitive, if there is a change in the market interest rate, my bond will either decline drastically or increase drastically. So I need to understand in my portfolio what are the high sensitive bonds and what are the low sensitive bonds. Okay. When you're trying to see the factors which are affecting the sensitivity, again, we are going to analyze the features of the bonds. Now, the bonds can have differing coupon rates, differing terms to maturity. Now, depending on that, how does this sensitiveness or the bond price sensitiveness change? That is going to be a focus. Now, if you take a coupon rate change, okay, what do we know about a coupon rate? We saw how does it affect the bond price. If a bond has a higher coupon rate, then the bond has a higher price. Correct? Why? If it has a higher coupon rate, your income is going to get higher. Therefore, people having these bonds are not willing to sell, or people are dying to buy these bonds. Therefore, price of these bond is very, very high. Okay. Now, think about this thinking pattern. Okay. Now, we know the required rate of return. The return comes from two ways: the coupon and the difference between the amount you invested and the face value. Okay. When you have a higher coupon rate, think about the premium bond. When you have a higher coupon rate, out of your required return, larger portion of your return comes as a coupon, as a frequent interest payment. Correct? So when you get larger portion of your return as a higher coupon, is this bond valuable to you? Of course, I expect 6% return, but this bond is giving me, let's say, 7%. Very much more high. Therefore, it's very much valuable for me. Therefore, whenever there is any changes to such a bond, I don't react. As an investor, I don't go to quickly sell. I don't go to quickly buy. Okay. My reaction is very less. Therefore, if you have a higher coupon rate bond, you become less price sensitive. Why? Higher portion of your return is coming from the coupon rate. Therefore, you are not worried about the market yield rate or the market interest rate changing, because you are still getting a higher interest. Therefore, this bond, such a bond will carry a very low price sensitiveness. This is a question that I have given. Identify the bond with higher bond price sensitivity. Among the two bonds with face value of 1,000 rupees and 5-year maturity with 6% coupon rate and another with 9% coupon rate, when the yield changes from 5 to 4% or 5 to 7%. How do we know the bond price sensitiveness? Remember, the sensitiveness depends on the yield change. When the yield increases or decreases, how drastic the change is. If the yield increases and the price drops by a greater percentage, high sensitive. If the yield declines and the price increases by a higher percentage, still it is highly sensitive. Okay. So here, first we are going to see the yield changes. Yield is at 5. Now it's going to move to 4%. And in another scenario, from 5, it is going to move to 7%. Okay. Scenario 1, you have a 6% coupon with 5 years maturity. And there's another bond, 9% coupon with 5 years to maturity. Now, if you take this, now here, how do you do is, you need to first calculate the price in this scenario. When the yield is 5, coupon is 6, time to maturity is 5, price was 1,043.29 cents. For this particular bond, this was the price. But when the yield decreased to 4%, all these information remaining the same, yield decreased, therefore price has increased. Can you see? Same scenario, price has increased. When the yield increases from 5 to 7%, you can see there is a decline in price. From 1043, it has come to close to 960. Here also, it has declined by nearly 100 rupees. Now, after you know these prices, you're going to identify these changes in the price. Here you can see price when the yield moved from 5 to 4%. When the yield decreased in this particular bond. In this particular bond, what has happened? When the yield dropped, price has increased by 4.4%. Whereas this particular bond has increased but only by 4.2%. The reaction is not so drastic of a 4.4. What has the highest reaction here? You're going to read it this way, okay? When you read it this way, out of these two, from 5 to 4%, which has the higher reaction? This bond, okay? When the yield rate increases from 5 to 7%, what has the highest drop? This dropped by 7.8. Here the drop was 8.1. We are going to see the highest reaction to see the high sensitive bonds. So here, what has the highest reaction? Minus 8.1. So you can see the bond with the higher coupon. Bond with the higher coupon is able to have a low price sensitiveness. The sensitiveness is less. Why? This bond is very valuable. Because it is valuable to the investor, just because there is a yield change, they are not reacting much. But in this bond, the coupon is less. Therefore, their reaction is very, very high. Okay. Therefore, bonds with a lower coupon, we could conclude that if a bond has a lower coupon, when all other factors are same, when all other features are same, time to maturity, all the features are same, if a bond has a lower coupon than another bond, the bond with the lower coupon will be more sensitive to yield changes. I want you to take it as a note over here, mention it. The bond with the lower coupon rate is more sensitive to yield changes, or the bond price of such a bond is more sensitive to the yield changes. Then we have impact of the maturity changes. Okay. Now, when the maturity, when the market yield rates are changing, we are going to see how sensitive these two bonds are. But if these two bonds have all features in the same manner, but the maturity time is different. One bond has only 2 years to maturity, but another bond has 30 years to maturity. We are going to see how sensitive these bonds are going to be. Okay. Now, we saw earlier in this, we saw that when there is a longer term to maturity, let's say there is a bond with 2 years to maturity and there's a bond with 30 years to maturity. We, as an investor, what do you like to invest? In a 2-year bond. Why? I will get my money back quickly. Other bond is a 30-year bond where I will have to face a huge uncertainty for another 30 years. Therefore, longer the time to maturity, that bond will have a lower value. Okay. That is what is highlighted here. Okay. Now, when you have a bond which is very, it has a shorter time to maturity, it will quickly going to mature. Okay. Then, let's say that bond time to maturity is only 1 year. So, within 1 year, you're going to get your money back. As an investor, you will be attracted to such a bond. So, let's say there is a interest rate change. Yield meaning the return changes are drastic. No, in the market, the yield expectation has changed, let's say from 5 to 6%. I have 2 bonds. One bond only in another 1 year it's going to mature. Another bond in 30 years it's going to mature. As an investor, I will quickly react to the bond with a longer time period. Why? The market interest rates are increasing. I'm holding on to a fixed income security for another 30 years. I will quickly try to get rid of it if the interest, if the yield is increasing. So, bond with a longer maturity will be more sensitive when there is a yield change than a bond which has a shorter time to maturity. Why? Even though the yield changes, as an investor, I know still in another 1 year, I will get my money back. In another 6 months, I'm going to get my money back. Therefore, shorter time to maturity meaning you're very much closer to that final payment. Correct? Therefore, further a bond is from maturity. That means, let's say it's going to mature in 2050 and currently we are in 2021. Let's say 2020. Further from maturity, the bond is going to be highly sensitive. Why? Because there are so many uncertainties in the market. Just for the slightest change, it could react drastically. Okay. Now that is the rationale behind that. Now we are going to see the calculation behind this. Let's do a calculation keeping all other information constant. Let's see how this reaction is going to be. Okay. Now you have a bond. We are going to identify which of these bond is highly sensitive. Now you have a bond with a face value of 1000. Both the bonds have 1000 rupee face value. But one has a 6% coupon with 5 years to maturity. Another one also has 6% coupon, but 20 years to maturity. Okay. Now, when you hold these two, there is a change in the market. There's a yield change from 5%. Yield has declined to 4%. Okay. So when there is a decline as such, we know whenever there is a decline in the yield, what is going to happen to the price? Price is going to increase. There's an inverse relationship. When the yield decreases, price increases. So definitely when I calculate the price at 4% yield is going to be higher than price at 5% yield. Same over here. Now I will calculate when the yield has increased to 7% from 5%, which means 953. Now when the yield has increased, price has decreased. Same scenario over here. Now once I've calculated the bond prices, now I need to see the change. When the yield decreased by 1% and when the yield increased by 2%, how was the reaction in the bond prices? Now, in this scenario, when the decrease of 1% happened, the bond with 5 years to maturity had a 4% price change. Okay. But the bond with 20 years to maturity, what has happened? The price change has been high, very drastic. Let's see the increase in the yield rate. When the yield increased from 5 to 7%, the 5-year bond has had a loss in the price. Okay, but it has lost the price by only 8%. There is a 8% of a loss in the price. But the 20-year bond has lost nearly 26% of its price. So what bond is highly sensitive? It is reacting very drastically. You could see it's the bond with the longest maturity. The reaction is very, very high. Even in a positive, it's reacting highly. Even in a negative, it's reacting highly. Therefore, bond with the longer maturity is going to be a highly sensitive bond. Now we learned how the sensitiveness changed for maturity and for the coupon. Now we are going to combine. So finally we can conclude, whenever there is a yield change, definitely if the yield declines, price will increase. If the yield increases, price declines. Correct. But that price change is going to be drastic if that bond has a low coupon and a longer margin. Okay, I want you to highlight this. If a particular bond has a lower coupon and a longer maturity, if the yield or the market interest rate changes, that bond is going to react very, very highly. If the yield has decreased, you will have a higher gain. Why? If the yield decreases, price is going to increase. But if the yield increases, the price drop is also going to be very, very drastic. Okay. Now, I have taken all 4 of these bonds. Can you see? And see how these reactions are across all these yield changes. What has the highest reaction? This is high and next is this one. Okay. In this one again at 7%, the reaction is very, very high for this one. At 8% also, reaction is very, very high for this particular bond. Okay. So finally, we can conclude the bond maturity is positively related to the bond price sensitivity. If the maturity is increasing, the sensitiveness of the bond price is also going to increase. Okay. But if the coupon is increasing, the bond is not going to react much. It's only when the coupon is less. So coupon has a inverse relationship with the bond price sensitiveness. Okay. I want you to highlight this. It is very, very important because this is the question that I think even sometimes it comes in FM for y'all. So many students hope that they don't get such an MCQ to see even because they get drastically confused. Okay. What the simple one that you need to keep in your mind is low coupon and a longer maturity, meaning high sensitiveness. Okay. So your portfolio will have either a larger increase or a larger decrease. Okay. Now, if you have if you have these tenors only, Let's say you only have this information. By looking at this, they ask you identify the bond with high sensitiveness, and lower sensitiveness. Okay. Now, what is our learning? Low coupon, longer time. When you have these two, it is high sensitive. Okay, that is our learning. So first you will see the tenor. When you have such a question, you will see, okay, what is the longest tenor? 20 years, 20 years. Okay. So out of these longer tenors, what has the lowest coupon? This one. So this is the answer for highest sensitive bond. What is the bond with the highest sensitiveness? Bond with a 6% coupon and a 20 years to maturity. Now, what is the bond with the lowest reaction or lowest sensitiveness? It's going to be the opposite of this, correct? So, if there is a bond with high coupon, rate and shorter maturity, it's going to be lower sensitiveness. So again, how are you going to filter? You're going to filter from the maturity. What is shorter maturity? 5 years. Out of this, what is the bond giving you the highest coupon? Which is going to be this one. So this bond with 9% coupon rate and the 5-year maturity is going to be the bond which is going to have the lowest reaction to the yield changes. Let's see whether that is true. Now, if you see this, out of these four, what has the lowest reaction? This has the lowest reaction, only 4.2. Let's see in this scenario, this has declined by minus 8.1, minus 25, minus 7, minus 19. So again, lowest reaction. When the yield has changed to 8%, again negative 11, negative 28, negative 11 again, negative 26. But here again, this is negative 11.4, this is negative 11.8. So again, you could see that this is the bond with the lowest sensitiveness. It doesn't fluctuate as much. Now, all these decisions we are making based on a certain feature. Now, we have to know the feature of the bond to see whether it is going to be a high sensitive bond or a low sensitive bond. Okay. But for you to precisely calculate, if you have to get a measure to see the sensitiveness, I want to see a number. Looking at the number, I want to see whether it is going to react high or low. Now, there is no particular number here now to measure the sensitiveness. I am telling you, okay, this bond is of high sensitiveness, this is of low sensitiveness by looking at the features only, by looking at the coupon and by looking at the maturity. Now, this had a shortcoming. Now, I want to quantify this sensitiveness. So, for you to quantify this sensitiveness, there is a development or there is a tool that you use, which is called duration. This didn't exactly give a number to measure the sensitiveness of the bond price. Therefore, you use this concept called duration to measure it. Now, when you move to duration, that concept called duration also had a lot of development. Okay, it started with the Macaulay duration and then it moved to the modified duration. Now, currently, mostly what is used is this modified duration. Okay, but for our purpose, we will go through Macaulay duration as well. We don't have an elaborate of time to go through all this. So let me first give you a small introduction on this Macaulay and get into it. Okay. Now this Macaulay duration is a stepping stone to this concept. Okay. So this is not a perfect calculation. This had its errors. Okay. That's why the modified duration came in. Now this Macaulay duration, as the name suggests, put forward by a person named Macaulay, what happened was they were taking the weighted average time of the bond cash flow. They said by looking at the time of the bond, we can say whether the bond is going to be high sensitive, low sensitive. Okay. So this concept is a weighted average time of the bond cash flow. How long is it going to get for you to get your cash flows? You're going to weight it by the amount of money you're getting for each time period. Okay. So simply weighted average term to maturity of a bond, and therefore the Macaulay duration is measured in years. Here it is a weighted average time. Okay. So the answer you're going to get is not just a number, it is going to be in years. Now, what were the uses of this duration? This Macaulay duration? It was useful for investors to understand the maturity of their portfolio. Now, if they have a bond portfolio, they can assess how the effective time taken for you to earn that money from the bond is how long. For you to know that effective time, this Macaulay duration was helpful. Okay. But the downfall or the error that they had was that this was in years. Okay. Now, this gave me the answer. It will give, when you calculate as well, it will give you the answer in years. Okay. So, I know I can identify whether a bond is highly sensitive, high sensitive or low sensitive. Okay. But I can't tell if yield increase by 1%, this bond is going to react by this amount. I can't give that figure. I can't measure the sensitiveness directly. Now, if I'm going to measure sensitiveness, I would want to say, look here, if the market interest rate is going to increase by 1%, the bond I'm holding is going to drop its value or will lose its value by 30%. That is the goal of duration. Okay. By calculating duration, you want to make a statement like this. If the market interest rate increases by 1%, my portfolio will lose its value by 30%. Okay. That reduction, that sensitiveness, I want to measure at once. But this method gave me the answer in years. So I can't tell the percentage drop or the percentage increase, but I can only tell you the effective time of the portfolio, and I can tell I have certain, there is a bond with high price sensitivity. That's all I can say. I can't measure that sensitiveness. Okay, that was the drawback when it comes to the Macaulay duration. Now, how are we going to measure it? This is the formula. But before we come to the formula, there is an example that we need to go through. For that, we have to move to our note. There's a small error here where the formula has come up till this page. This should ideally appear here. I'll try to re-upload the PDF again. Okay. So in Macaulay duration, what do? We are going to use the time of the bond cash flow, but now we are going to weight it. There is going to be an average of time, yes, but not just a simple average. We are going to weight the time of the bond against the cash flow of that time. Okay. How it happens is, each payment frequency is weighted by the present value of the payment divided by the bond price, or ideally divided by the present value of the bond. This will get you the Macaulay duration. Now here you can see this. Here, this is the bond price. Here, each cash flow, each present value of the cash flow for each time, I'm going to weight it, add it up, and that I'm going to divide by the bond price. Let's see how it goes. Now, for example, consider a bond with just 1 year remaining to maturity. Okay. So, at the end of 1 year, I'm going to get 1,000 rupees, annually 8% coupon, but that is paid semi-annually. So, you are going to have 2 time periods, at the end of 6 months and at the end of 12 months. Okay. So, this will be the diagram. Half year, 1 year. Okay. So at the end of half year, even though yearly I'm getting 8%, for 6 months I will only get half of it, which is 4%. 4 into 1,000, I will get 40 rupees. This I will get at the end of 6 months. And then again at the end of 12 months, I will get another 40. Okay. There is a small error in this whole diagram over here. I will again re-upload this note for you because the diagrams have got shuffled. Okay. This is the diagram that you should first look at. So first we are going to identify the cash flow. 40 rupees the coupon. Then at the end of 1 year, you're going to get the 40 years. With that, you're now going to get another 1,000, which is the face value. Okay. Now, first I have identified my cash flows. Okay. Now, I'm going to see the present value of these cash flows. Now, this 40 rupees in 6 months time, in today's term, is equal to 38.1. Okay. When you divide that by the discount factor, you will get the answer. Okay. But this 1,000, when I discount, sorry, this 1,040, this entire 1,040, when I discount and measure it in today's terms, it will give me a present value of 943. Okay. Now, if I add these two, I will get my bond price. Correct? I have taken the present value of the coupon and taken the present value of the face value. Simply by adding these two, I will get my bond price. Okay. Now what do? First, I need to know my timing. I'm going to wait my time. Remember, I'm going to wait it. So here, half a year, at the end of 6 months, out of the present value of the bond, present value of all future cash flows, or let's say out of the bond price, how much is the bond price? When you add 943 and 38 together, you get 981. Okay, this is the bond price. Out of this bond price, at the end of 6 years, I'm going to get 38 rupees. Am I correct or wrong? Correct. The bond price is 981. Okay, when I add these two. Okay, out of this 38, I'm going to get at the end of 6 months. Okay, now what am I doing? I am seeing what is the percentage of the bond price that I am getting in 6 months. It is 3.8% from the bond price. Closer to 4% of the bond price I am getting at the end of 6 months. Okay. At the end of 1 year, you disregard these 6 months. At the end of 1 year, how much am I getting? I am getting 943 out of 981, which means I am getting 96% of my bond price at the end of 1 year. So here I will get my weightages. The weightages to multiply the times. Now here largest percentage is coming for 1 year. The smallest percentage is coming to 3.88. Okay. Now these weights are dependent based on the present value of the cash flows coming from each payment. Now for half year, I got 38. 1 year, I got 943. I have weighted it in comparison to the bond price. I hope that it's clear. Now using this bond pricing, I'm very sorry, I don't know how this has got okay. The tables have gotten a bit disarranged. Over here it has come. Here you can see in this part of it, focus. So I have taken my weightage and now I am seeing, look here, out of 100% of the bond price, I am getting 3%, closer to 4% at the end of 6 years. I am getting 96% at the end of 1 year. So what is my effective time? Do I have to wait 1 year to get my entire bond price? No. Within 0.98 years, which means not even 1 year, little less than 1 year, you can accumulate you will receive your bond price early. That is what is denoted here. That is why it is not equal to 1, it is less than 1. Major reason is because there is a coupon payment happening in between. Let's say there is no coupon payment happening here. What will happen? The entire 100% of the cash flows will come at the end of 1 year and the Macaulay duration will also be 1 year. Okay. So whenever you have a zero coupon bond, whenever in case of a zero coupon bond, the Macaulay will equal to the maturity of the bond. Now here the maturity is 1 year. If there is no coupon in between, Macaulay duration will match the maturity. Okay. But if there are coupons in between, then you are getting part of the bond price earlier. You don't have to wait till the end. Okay, therefore your effective duration is going to be shorter than the maturity of the bond. I want you to highlight this over here. Always Macaulay duration is shorter than the maturity of the bond, unless it's a zero coupon bond. Okay, that's an important learning here. And remember, when the Macaulay duration is of a higher value, it shows that it takes a longer period to take your money. So when it's a longer period to get your money, what happens? High sensitiveness. Are you willing to hold such a bond? No. It's discouraging for you. So longer Macaulay duration indicates higher sensitiveness. Okay, I want you to note down that as well. I think I've written here. Higher duration meaning higher price sensitivity. Why? You're going to get a longer time period. Okay, therefore a higher Macaulay duration or higher duration would mean a higher price sensitiveness. Now under this, there's an elaborate calculation and a lot of scenarios. You have to see the changes that happen. Each variable, when it changes, how the Macaulay duration fluctuates. That let's start cover it from the next class. I think next class we should be able to finish off modified duration and move to convexity and start off with our equity market lesson. Okay, before we again start off the next class, I want you to attempt this Macaulay duration on your own. Come with your questions, because definitely you will have doubts in this. When we do these elaborate calculations and the practice question, I will help you out. But before that, attempt it on your own. Okay. Again, let's meet next week and continue from where we left off. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it was clear to you all. Okay. Bye.